The boys. Come on up. Hello, welcome. Thank you so much, Corey. It's been an amazing day for us yesterday, and you will hear from our guys. What we will try to talk about now is to give you just a snippet of some of the conversations, and I have three wonderful men. I have three wonderful men who will tell you about what they're passionate about and what you're doing. Innovation. There are many different definitions of innovation, but I'll take a business one because now I run a business. Sorry. Innovation, one businessman said it is change that brings value. I guess the first thing, and let me throw it to Ruben first. Let me introduce Ruben Cantu. He is a serial entrepreneur who has, he will tell you about this, because when I throw this question at him, I'm going to have to stop him. But so tell me, how do you agree with that innovation, and how does it build into what you're doing now?
Innovation comes beyond invention. It's an iteration. We all build on top of each other. This country, the United States, and the world really stands on our ancestors and all the work that we've been doing. For a technical definition of innovation, though, I'll borrow a quote from my friend and professor, Bob Metcalf, who actually invented the Ethernet. So if you use the internet, that you can thank him. He made it at a crossroads. He said, innovation really is where application meets new knowledge. And so if you think about it in this 4-square quadrant, you're trying to get the latest innovation to happen with the newest knowledge and the newest application that can be formed. That to me is innovation. And so we can apply that in our daily lives, in our business lives, but if you start thinking about how can I use new things with new knowledge and combine them together. We never thought that we would be in an age where we could literally be speaking all around the world. Think back to the Guten Press, the press when it first came out, and how we've moved media so far apart, further down the
to the
road.
sidelines. Well, right now you're talking to Manila. We're being live streamed in Asia as well. But Ruben, let's talk about you. I mean, that innovation, what you found. What are you passionate about right now? How are you using it in your life?
I'm really passionate about the fact that we can leverage niche communities and really show their power. In Austin, we've taken an initiative to really empower the community. We've created the Social Innovators Fund and Fast Pitch. And really what the purpose behind that is, instead of one person, maybe a catalyst like me, trying to create all the change, why don't we leverage the voice of the community? Why don't we ask the community, decide what you think is important to fund. Let's find those social entrepreneurs who are really making that impact, and let them be accountable to the community so they can make that change happen. And we're doing that all on a local scale, local basis in the Central Texas region, but it's having the opportunity to gain global attention of how we're doing it as well.
Fantastic. I'm going to run to Sebastian Lindstrom from
Good
Sweden.
morning.
He is our maverick, and when he speaks, you will understand why. He looks at the world through very different lenses. Let me toss that idea to you. Again, innovation is change that brings value. How does this play out in your life and what you've chosen to do?
Good morning. Good morning.
And good evening.
Good
in
evening.
Asia.
I just realized I did forget to drink the morning coffee, but it should not hold me back. I was thinking about this a little bit, and innovation, a very, very big term that for me have diluted its value a little bit because it's thrown out in so many different ways from the donor down. And as I'm a filmmaker, and I bought my first camera 3 months ago. I've been filming for 5 years, but I'm one of the people who have figured out a way where I can get access to the camera. And I think you find that through innovation now in the last 5-10 years, people get access to cameras all around the world because it's been democratically become available, because price has gone down, technology has gone up. So I'm a filmmaker. I have many different fields that I find myself working in, not as a filmmaker, but I use filmmaking as a platform to get access to stories, people to connect with, opportunities to be part of.
But an easy one, Sebastian,
Yeah.
you were talking about how you land in a country. This man's goal is to hit 150 countries in a short period of time. And but when you land someplace, how do you use this new thing to actually get your work out there?
Right. New country, couch surfing, fantastic community. Stay with friends, stay with new people that you connect with. work with clients, but also figure out how you can work with people who have stores on the ground who need access to either be trained how to use their phones to tell a story, or you figure out how you can collaborate together to push out their story and give them the outlets.
He is a boundary spanner in social network analysis. He connects many different people in the real world, but when you put him in the virtual world, he gets a little bit, it's scary. Let me introduce you to Tomas de Lara from Brazil. He is the founder of www.engage.is. And he connects innovation with business, with social entrepreneurship. So in your end, how do you look at this? What is your passion, and how are you using it daily?
Yeah, as I come from a business background, I truly believe that the power of business has a great role to change society. So nowadays my passion is really connected to use the very big scale for big corporation, medium corporation, and even small corporations that are going to be the future of business, to use it to change society in a whole, you know. And I truly believe that innovation nowadays is not only technology innovation or other kinds of innovation, but it is as well on how can we have a more horizontal collaborative governance inside the company, how can we share value among all the chain of value production that we develop on new products, new services. So I truly believe that in the end it's in our hands to change what's outside in this world, you know. And innovation is really, really important for all kinds of company, more and more with consciousness now, you know, conscious for society, for a sustainable future, for a more collaborative world, I would say.
So as Sebastian said, this word innovation is slightly overused, and so I'm going to go back to Ruben. First of all, let me remind you, we are live all around the world. Please join the conversation. Tweet, you can tweet +SocialGood to throw your questions there. Use the hashtag #SocialGood. Ruben, in what you do right now, you know, one of the things that came out in the 24 hours we've been together is that there are opportunities and there are risks. So can you tell us some of the opportunities and risks that you've dealt with?
In rolling out innovation, you have to allow the ability for failure. We're so caught up in a world of success and fast growth and instant gratification, and I'm gonna get valuation at $1 billion. But in reality though, for us to be able to grow collectively as a community, as a global community, we have to understand that progress, it's not that it takes time, but it takes effort on all of our parts. And it's not about a figure number. It's about the value that we create amongst each other. But in order to do that, creation is messy. And there will be failure. But that doesn't mean that's the end of the story. That's actually just maybe a bookmark. What really happens is if you continue through that, that's when you start finding the real innovation happening, because like, oh my God, we set off to do X, Y, Z, but we found out this new insight. This is really where it's at, and here's how we can provide more value than just this particular sector. So at the bottom line is, don't be scared to fail. I think all of us are just, oh my God, what if I fail? This is not gonna be good. We have to be comfortable with that, because that's the only way we'll grow.
So Ruben is the founder of Austin's Social Media Innovation Fund and Fast Pitch. He's a media entrepreneur as well. How do you know when to cut your losses?
Depending on the situation and the skill that you're working in, you have to identify the kind of culture and the team that you're surrounded by. Some teams are more risk averse, some of them are more tolerant. Well, the reason I bring this up is, if your team is not supporting you in this effort, then you might have to cut your losses quicker than others. But I think that it starts two places: from the bottom down and from the bottom up and the top down. And so if the top management is supporting a culture of innovation, you'll have more of a leniency to continue to play in that space, even though you've had some missteps, because the goal isn't to try to turn around something in 2 weeks. This is a long-term effort. So when you cut your losses when the collective team says, okay, we're done. And it really comes down to that visionary saying, we're not supporting this effort anymore.
Fantastic. Sebastian, I was telling you how he lives a very unorthodox lifestyle for a 40-something or 50-something that is looking at us. They might be horrified, but he is living such a life of adventure. Sebastian, your passion and what are the risks and the rewards in what you've chosen to do?
Right. I would say that the risk is when you find yourself in a situation where it's very hard for you to know if the story that you're filming, if the beneficiaries in that story, if they are actually benefiting or not benefiting. How long do you have to be on the ground, immersed with the people who are getting funding or support from a project? Is it 2 days you can live with them and figure out if they're better off or worse off? Or is it 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years? When do you know? So that's one of the hard parts of my life as a filmmaker, as you go from one project in one country 1 week and then you continue that. So that's the biggest conundrum. The benefit for me is when I find myself in situations when I would be, for example, on the back of a motorbike, which I think is, you're vulnerable and you're immersed in the community and you're going through traffic and Thomas is driving. Many of you have maybe been there on the back of a motorbike, okay? Hopefully you have a helmet. He's driving and I'm surrounded by him, right? And we're having a conversation. Yeah. And we can filter out everything that's happening around us. And I think this is a space where we truly connect. And
Yes, we connect.
last night, me and Thomas found access to a sauna. And we're sitting there, we're sitting in the sauna, and we had that moment. And that reminds me of the conversation we had 2 days ago where we said, one conversation can change everything. And I think that you can increase the opportunity for yourself to find yourself in those spaces where you can have these conversations.
So how do you define success?
I think for me, when I can connect Thomas to someone in Somalia and 2 weeks later, 2 months later, they will create something together, that's success for me.
And Tomas, the guy who's having an intense conversation with
Yes,
Sebastian. Again, you're interesting because it's business and business plus do-gooding coming together for you. I mean, tell us a little bit more about what you do, the risks and the rewards.
Okay, so one thing I'm really interested in is collaborative organizations. So there is this co-working and ecosystem of social entrepreneurs in Rio de Janeiro, which is called Goma. So I'm one of the co-founders, and it's interesting because there is other 59 co-founders. And there is no CEO, no director. It's all collaborative, horizontal type of experiment, I would say, more than a business, you know. And it's so cool because for us, success, first of all, is to learn with each other, you know. Or an organization, being a big corporation, being United Nations or whatever, it's a learning process of human beings, you know. And I think we are evolving through learning. And for me, success is to learn, to evolve, being maturely, spiritually, energetically. And then I think if we get this idea into big organizations, more organizations, and really try to do it from the heart, I think that's a good deal, you know, it's a very good thing. That's innovation, in my opinion.
Can I throw in an extra question?
Go.
Movement, community, company, should everybody have equal ownership? Is that theory?
Well, I think that it's a great challenge to do it. I think that it's not something easy to do in the very next year. We might not be prepared, big corporations even less prepared, but the change is really drastic, very coming fast because of the internet as well. And I do believe that there are some companies that are prepared to it and they will have profit, being social profit and even money profit out of it, and others will maybe to be prepared for it, will have to learn from it. But I'm sure that at least have this culture of more horizontal, collaborative, and open discussion on what is the purpose, what is the drives of the company. This is good for every type of company. I'm sure.
Greater transparency. Ruben, you wanted to add?
I just want to add to them and kind of maybe encapsulate this in a concept or a thought that you can walk away with today. We talked about how do you define success? I think success really is that shared value amongst each other, knowing that that other person was able to create a win as well. When I give other talks as well, we talk about this concept of Ubuntu. I'm sure everyone in this crowd probably knows the definition of Ubuntu, but just for those who are not familiar, it's not the Linux operating system. It's I am because you are because I am, we are together, you are my brother. And so when I succeed, you succeed. And so we can find ways to create that mutual win, then that's how we create more sustainability and further growth within the space that we're working in.
So being one of the older folks in the last 24 hours, I constantly ask this. I mean, the work that you guys are doing, does it need The core foundation seems to be that you believe in the goodness of human nature. Does it need altruism, and how do you protect yourself against those who aren't altruistic?
You know, I was asked this question yesterday. Do you hold
I
anything
thought I asked
close
an
to the
original
vest?
question.
Do you just give everything away? I mean, how do you keep your competitors at bay? And at the bottom line, we'll see how this turns out, but we've literally grown 5 years through word of mouth, this company that I'm running currently today. And I've done it because I've been totally transparent, sincere, and have told people this is the truth we speak, this is what we stand for in the world, here's how we want to help you. We're not looking to try to compete on price, we're looking to work with people who want to build relationships, who really see the value in what we stand for. So to me, am I scared of other people maybe taking advantage of it? Maybe I believe in a higher source power. Everything kind of has a way of working its way out. And to me, I feel that if I give more positivity in the world, that'll outweigh all the negativity. So that's my philosophy. You may subscribe to it, you may not, but it's been working for me so far.
Tomas.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, I think I've been meeting lots of people from all over the world for these 2 years, and as well from all walks of life. And I think that I've been learning that if you change inside yourself, your essence, then it's a very, very great change that will affect everybody, you know. So does it matter if the people, the person outside of you, it's competitive or no, it's going to be altruistic or no? I think it doesn't matter. If you really are connected to what you believe and you do it, you will make some change around yourself. It's connected to what Ruben said before. And I truly believe that that's the way to go, you know. Going from a scarcity paradigm for abundance paradigm, going from a competitive paradigm for a collaborative paradigm, maybe going from an egocentric economy to an eco-centric economy. I think those are the things that
Sustainable.
Sustainable.
Sebastian, I think we have seen the worst of human nature. I mean, you've gone in. How do you deal with this? I mean, in many instances, a lot of this innovation, the technology, the way we're putting it in practice, relies on altruism, and yet we've seen people kill. How do you deal with this?
I'm trying to disrupt the stereotypes that a lot of places have received, and you have to spread positive stories to fight that. So to answer the question and the other question that was discussed, I think that collaboration is everything, and in the development sphere, you look good by collaborating with others. It means that you can work with and people can understand you, and it's to build.
So even that word collaboration is very difficult in some ways. I'll be devil's advocate. Just, you know, it means that you want to work with someone, but someone else must want to work with you also. What are the difficulties in collaboration, in making your models work?
Go ahead.
Come on, go, man.
The fact that a collaboration, just like anything, it's a relationship. You won't get everything that you want. And we've been in very sticky, messy situations, I'm sure we all have. And I have a vision, it's perfect, just latch on to what I want to do and then everything's going to be fine. Well, if the world was that easy, then, you know, it's not, the world doesn't work that way. So ultimately speaking, it's about finding that nuance and those opportunities to help each other. I like the term co-opetition.
Co-opetition. I like that.
And the reason I say that, it's not that competition is bad. It keeps us on our edge and keeps us innovating. But just because he may be my competitor, or you may be my competitor, doesn't mean that I want to see your demise. I want to see us succeed together, and then I can learn from you, you can learn from me, and we can survive in this ecosystem.
And together you can increase the field as well that you work in, that niche industry.
Tomas.
Yeah, and I truly believe that, for example, in my opinion, I am only working with people that are really open to collaboration, which are believing in open source movements, being of software or other intellectual properties. And even in big corporations, nowadays that I'm working in Brazil as a consultant, I only work in projects that they are willing to open up the things and be in collaborative. I think that in this way, you will connect with people that are collaborative, and some way, somehow, people that are not will be in other spheres, other areas, and they will do their things. I truly, truly believe that collaboration is much, much better, much more efficient, and it's more nature-wise, you know? It's like biomimicry. If you understand the nature as it evolves, we understand that nature collaborates. Nature is all interdependent. We are all connected, you know? And this is the way collaboration works, basically.
So let me ask you a question. I run a startup that's a media organization, and co-opetition is a nice term, but we are 2.5 years old and we're now the 3rd top online news site, but everyone looks at us as competition in traditional media. What advice would you give for me? How do I collaborate with competitors?
Right.
So, to me and Maria,
My competitors don't listen.
first of all, I want to congratulate Maria. I see her, you as a mentor as well. So this is awesome what she's been able to do. When you start truly providing value and being that thought leader, your other competitors look to you for help. And so if you're able to give them more value, it's not that they want to see your demise. They'll start to see you for resources. So I would say, try to be that person that people go for help, because then that builds trust and it eases the trade friction.
I'll just give an example. Catarse is the biggest crowdfunding platform in Brazil. Is a platform where Engage was together in the creation in the beginning, and they are open source. Okay, and why they choose to be open source? Because basically they wanted to create an ecosystem of crowdfunding, because crowdfunding do good for the world. It enables other people, being artists, social projects, to be out there. And it's better if there are other crowdfunding platforms in the world. And because of that, Catarse is a reference in the world right now. There are 18 other platforms in the world using the source code, collaborating, exchanging, and this is a very valuable asset because they believed on collaboration in the first place.
Sebastian.
I'm trying to figure out what your company is doing very differently from the others, right? So you have your own niche thing,
Yes.
and if you can figure out what the others are bringing and what you can bring that they're not doing, how can you do that together?
So the same, basically, this is what the last 24 hours have been like. We've been talking to each other about the things and arguing. So we have time for 2 questions before I'm giving. Oh, we're already there. We're taking questions. All right, why don't we take questions, and then I'm going to save one last question for you in the end. Any questions from the audience? If you don't have any, I'm going to keep asking. Please.
So what do you think? What's the application of Tesla is giving away its patents? So
Yeah.
what's going to impact?
I was so happy to see
sorry,
it.
can you repeat into the mic?
Okay, yeah, I will repeat. What is the application
So-
of Tesla open? Do you want to repeat, Maria?
Okay, go ahead.
repeat it,
Go ahead.
Okay, what's the application of Tesla open up their intellectual properties and engineering knowledge? It was recent, right? 2 weeks ago. I was super happy to see it because the automotive industry is maybe one of the most competitive of all industries. And what they did is like very important to drive this movement of believing that collaboration brings you a new whole dimension of other opportunities that will come to you. We are really sometimes close in this idea that, I have my knowledge, I will compete and stuff, and the others must have their thing. But when you open it, you have a new ways of possibilities and new benefits that will come that you cannot know. So I'm really glad that they do it. I'm really proud of them. Like, really cool.
Ruben.
True innovation happens through cross-pollination. And so I think Tesla is strong in doing this because now there's other automakers who are going to bring their own ideas and that Tesla can learn from as well. So it's smart at certain degrees to be able to bring everyone to the table and share what you have.
And look, you know what? We are talking about Tesla. We're talking good. We're smiling about Tesla. And it is so cool. This is a very important event and we're talking about it, you know? This is good branding. This is the branding of the future. You know?
Fantastic. Any questions, additional questions from the audience? We have a mic for you. Please, please.
We have some questions coming from the internet, from people who are watching us in the live stream. So we have this question from, I'm just gonna read the handle, but I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Saju, something like that. How do you know if an idea is going to be profitable? How do you take an idea and bring it to scale?
Tomas first.
Well, first of all, I think let's take the idea of open source. So when you have an idea, instead of keeping it to you and saying, oh, I have a great idea, just talk to 1 or 2 people that you really trust, go outside in the world and tell it. For people you know in a bar, for people you know in the streets and stuff, and make it work before the idea is worked on, before you put energy into it. So first test the idea as an MVP, you know, it's minimum viable product. So test the idea in the street, then make a very small thing, fail fast, fail cheap,
Yes.
right?
And fail
No,
forward.
It's true, yeah. And then you will learn if the idea is good, and the idea is never finished. The idea is an organism, a living organism that goes evolving, right?
Yeah. Anything to add?
I would just, ultimately the key word is validation. So it's not about just getting that first paying customer. That's the first step to validation. Scaling it, though, is trying to find a niche and space that has that reoccurring revenue. So you're going to have to continue to expand and try to test new things and really be what I call nimble, right? We call that the pivot. And so finding ways to be able to be flexible enough to allow yourself to say, you know what, I was wrong, but it's not about me being right. It's about me doing the things that I need to do to make it successful.
I think the other thing is also redefining a business model. You know, like again, traditional media, I think the business model of most traditional news groups is dead. But yet we haven't recognized that yet. So you actively have to look and design a new business model if you're starting something that is truly innovative.
And one more question from people watching us through live stream. This comes from Dubai. His name is Danny Alegu. Is it a good idea to innovate with the government?
Ruben, man,
Go,
you
Ruben.
look good and you can.
You know, he talked about organisms, and I think this is a valid point. Different governments on the different sides, even if it's a local, a regional, or national, or international body, has its own quirks. We're filled with bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is there for a reason, so things don't fall apart as quickly. But the thing about it is, when you find that right connector, that right advocate, and this is really what I would support, is it's not about just the idea, it's about relationships and advocacy. Because if you find the right person within that government who can help you and support and champion your idea, then yes, work with that government. But if the government is so hard to, it moves really slow, then it may not be, depending on the stage of your company, it may not be worth it. If you look at Lockheed Martin, I believe, I hope I'm not misquoting this, but they have big contracts with the government, but there's a lot of issues there. There was a recent 60 Minutes story about this. And so there's its own challenges in trying to work with government. But when you do it right, then it's great. Look at military defense spending.
And just to add to that, you see more and more the internet coming to bringing people to participate in decisions on governments. And one example is meurio.org.br. That is a movement in Rio de Janeiro for civic engagement. And their software is open source as well. So people go there, discuss about ideas. They can poke some politicians and talk about it and stuff. It's very important.
I think
to use the web, you know, to...
Well, my response to that is, if you really want substantial change, you have no choice but to work with government.
Yeah.
And you have to take that into account. And the example I use is Project Agos, which is our disaster risk reduction management platform. It's a real-time reporting tool that we built, but yet needs to be implemented by government. And it's taken us 8 months to get government acceptance of it, and we are actually going to help in the training of people in using this platform. It's taking bottom-up approach of real-time reporting in terms of disasters, and then the top-down where you have the police and the military and the local government units. Imagine for 100 million people and a government where our institutions are relatively weak. That's tough to do, but it can work. And it, frankly, in a country where we have an average of 20 typhoons every year, the government can't do it alone. So that's the other part. Sometimes I don't think it's government's fault.
Sebastian.
Go, Sebastian.
Quick thing. It's very hard to know when you should work with the government and not, I feel.
Yep.
And it's hard to know because the government will push the bandwagon with doing innovation, with doing technology, and they will use the media outlets to tell you that story from the outside. So if you're going to Kenya or you're going to Trinidad, you will think that the government is the force to work with. But when you are inside the country and hanging out with friends, that's not the case in many instances. You have to figure out the incubation spaces where companies are being brought up that is not run or influenced or semi-funded by the government.
Okay, last.
Not all the solutions are fit for the big government or small government, but I would say think about it in this final step so you can walk away with it. We all, if you're familiar with marketing, the product life cycle, find those innovative cities, the innovative governments, and validate it there. And if you can actually get that to
Proof
be
of
adapted,
concept.
yes,
Yeah.
then you can say, you know what, this is actually a solution for a national opportunity.
We have time for one. Please, go ahead.
A lot
From
of
the
pressure
floor.
with one last question, but good morning. My name is Scott Beal with Atlas Corps. Thank you for this great
Hi,
conversation today. Good to see you all. I wanted to see if you could briefly reflect on, we spend a lot of time at Atlas Corps thinking about ways to promote innovation across borders in the social sector. And there's different ways about people crossing borders and coming together in cities or conferences, or via social media like +SocialGood, or even watching movies together and learning from those experiences. And are there forums, what's the best way to promote innovation, especially across borders? Can it be done online? Does it need to be in person? Can we hear stories and evolve that way, or is it a combination?
Yeah, my quick answer to that is that the internet connects people in the first place. So let's say we have like 3 big communities, for example. Sandbox community is one, Global Shapers community is other, and +SocialGood is other. What the internet does is basically connect them in the first place, and then you see who you can collaborate with, who you have synergies, and you have projects that you can do together. And then, yes, you have to meet personally. You have to do the touch, you have to do the bike ride, the sauna thing, you know. Yeah, and that
I'm
really
feeling
works.
left out.
Yeah.
It's okay, we can ride together.
We'll do sauna together. Yeah, but that's it. The internet just connect, and then you have to meet, I think.
Sebastian?
I think that the beautiful thing of live streams in general and having groups of people getting connected, you have an event in one place and then you have diaspora who cannot be in that country because it's war, it's post-war, and have the diaspora coming together in different sub-cities around the world and having the conversations through the hashtag.
Fantastic.
Not just one tool, it's an and. It's a combination. And we should never rely on just one platform to do it.
I will not repeat it. We are out of time in this panel, but you have to stay tuned because we talked a bit about innovation. Coming up, you have another advisor, Carolina Andrada. We are the older ones. No. So she will bring up a panel that will talk about reach. Thank you, gentlemen. Sebastian, Tomas, and Ruben.